Paris stood still as the world's fastest passenger jet prepared for departure. The Concorde was more than an airplane, it was a symbol of luxury, speed, and human ambition. Travelers watched in admiration, unaware they were witnessing history's final moments before disaster. Inside the cabin, passengers settled into elegance high above ordinary air travel. In the cockpit, experienced pilots carefully prepared for another routine flight. The engines ignited with tremendous force, shaking the runway beneath the aircraft. Concorde began its acceleration, pushing forward with unstoppable power. Every second brought the aircraft closer to takeoff speed, and closer to tragedy. Heat waves rippled behind the engines as the supersonic jet thundered down the runway. But hidden ahead was a small piece of metal, almost impossible to notice. In only moments, that tiny object would change aviation history forever. One of the tires struck the debris at incredible speed. The impact exploded the tire into deadly fragments. Shattered debris slammed violently into the underside of the wing. A fuel tank rupture triggered the beginning of a catastrophic chain reaction. Warning lights suddenly illuminated the cockpit. Even as flames began forming beneath the wing, the aircraft lifted into the sky. Fire rapidly spread along the engine area as fuel ignited behind the aircraft. From the ground, witnesses watched in horror as smoke followed the Concorde. Inside the cabin, passengers noticed flames outside their windows for the very first time. Fear slowly replaced calm as vibrations intensified throughout the aircraft. Flight attendants struggled to reassure passengers while the emergency worsened. In the cockpit, alarms echoed non-stop as pilots fought to maintain control. The fire beneath the wing continued growing with terrifying intensity. One engine was now suffering catastrophic failure. People below looked up in disbelief at the burning jet crossing the sky. Inside the aircraft, panic spread from row to row. Oxygen masks suddenly dropped as the cabin descended deeper into chaos. Passengers desperately tried to remain calm while fear consumed the cabin. Critical flight systems were becoming increasingly unstable. A massive trail of smoke stretched for miles behind the Concorde. The extreme heat began weakening the aircraft structure. Violent shaking threw the cabin into terror. Crew members continued helping passengers despite the growing danger. The pilots attempted emergency procedures with only seconds left to react. The aircraft began losing altitude over the crowded suburbs below. Witnesses could hear the roar of the damaged engines echoing across the city. Flames consumed larger sections of the aircraft with every passing moment. From the windows, the ground appeared closer and closer. The Concorde was no longer flying normally, it was falling. The burning jet descended uncontrollably through the darkening sky. In the cockpit, the pilots made one final desperate attempt to save the aircraft. Screams filled the cabin as turbulence violently shook the plane. One wing dipped lower as the aircraft lost critical stability. People on the ground ran for safety as the flaming jet passed overhead. The engines were now completely overwhelmed by fire. Inside the cabin, passengers faced the terrifying reality of the situation. Time itself seemed to slow during the aircraft's final moments. The Concorde rapidly descended toward disaster. Extreme heat tore through the aircraft structure. Only seconds remained before impact. The aircraft struck the ground in a violent explosion of fire and debris. A massive fireball erupted into the sky, visible from miles away. The crash site was consumed by smoke, flames, and devastation. Burning wreckage covered the ground where the legendary aircraft had fallen. Shockwaves from the explosion left destruction across the surrounding area. Emergency crews rushed toward the inferno as chaos unfolded around them. Above the crash site, thick smoke rose into the sky like a dark monument to tragedy. As the flames slowly faded, silence replaced the chaos. The Concorde disaster marked the end of an era, and became one of aviation history's most tragic moments. If you're enjoying our content and want to see more powerful stories like this, make sure to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share it with your friends. And don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss the next episode of history's most shocking disasters and untold moments.